Welcome to Digital Dialogues. I'm your host, Steve Marion, Senior Director for Customer Success at Quantum Strides. And today I have my guest, Chris Tamulonis, the Senior Director for Facilities Management at Northwell Health. Hello, Chris. How are you today, sir?
Doing well. How you doing, Stephen?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
Certainly.
Can you share your journey from marine engineering to healthcare facilities management? What inspired your transition into this field?
So I graduated. I went to New York Maritime College in Fort Schuyler in the Bronx in New York. Graduated in 2008. Initially, I worked in the maritime field for pretty much all of 2008 as a project engineer for a shipyard. And it was out of New York State. And I decided to come home and really, I wanted to do something more on the power plant end. And given the economics of 2008 with the recession, the options were limited. I really wanted to see where I could find something that was a little bit more robust, a little bit more out of the ordinary. And that's when the opportunity in healthcare opened up. And I started my healthcare journey as a shift supervisor for a cogen plant for a major hospital network in the Bronx. And I started there, did that for about 3.5 years. And then I progressed up to assistant director, then to director, senior director over the course of the last 15 years. But definitely, I wanted to be able to really be in an industry that wasn't just robust, but was able to have something new every day. And that's something that I've definitely been able to achieve throughout the years.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned New York. Are you a native New Yorker?
Yes, born and raised on Long Island. Grew up in New Hyde Park, and then out of college, lived in the Bronx, and then hopped around for a couple, for that year until came back to New York.
Great. Now, with your leadership experience in various healthcare systems, how do you define effective leadership in facilities management?
I look at leadership and facilities management as not just the technical aspect and, having the competency either as a leader and also maybe as a line staff manager or middle management, but really being well-rounded in the sense of knowing the human element, the physical element, the social element, and really being able to put it together so that you can actually lead a department, an organization, even a project. And that's one of the things I've always tried to stress when mentoring people, or even myself over the years, learning it through formal education, or even learning it the hard way through just life and life experiences. But I think really the biggest thing that helps with the leadership is the communication and really understanding people, emotional intelligence. I think I lean more on that than I will do on the technical. The technical competency always will need to be there, but it's the softer skills that I think make or break your true leaders versus just people that get by day.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, by the way. Now, what are some unique challenges healthcare facilities face in terms of operations and maintenance, and how do you address them?
I think there's different types of healthcare organizations. There could be outpatient facilities, there could be acute care, inpatient facilities, different sizes. I think in the end all, one of the biggest things that we all try to hurl around is definitely being able to operate and also perform projects, but also keeping the patient safety, the infection control environment, all in that in mind. And with those additional criteria and standards that need to be followed, from infection control containment, just to do a simple ceiling tile replacement, when maybe in a commercial building you could just replace it as is. It's just those little nuances that add that extra layer of knowledge needed within the field, but also just to execute it. What might take 30 minutes in a normal commercial environment might take an hour and a half in an operating sterile corridor. So that, I think, is one of the biggest hurdles that, especially people that work outside of healthcare then come into. It's really an eye opener where they really see, oh, there's a lot more layers and a lot more logistics. And that's where then I tie it into that communication aspect. You got to learn to really work with different departments and be able to work cohesively so that you can, perform whatever task on hand you have.
Very good, very good. Which, by the way, Chris, is an interesting segue into my next question, which is how do you ensure operational efficiency while maintaining high safety and compliance standards in a healthcare environment?
I would say the first thing is actually knowing the regulation, knowing the standards, knowing your policy procedures. And it's just not the leader, the senior director, the director, the VP. It's also the middle management, line staff, foremans. Everybody needs to be on the same page. Know the expectation. If you need to put up a containment to change the ceiling tile, or if you need to add negative pressure because it's a case sensitive area, I think that's the first foundation. All right, where you can be able to then execute whatever you need to do. That can be a project, a repair, or even trying to do some kind of even a simple unit relocation. I think it's just that bare competency of just being able to understand what is needed to make it a safe environment is paramount. The second part, as I went in a few questions back, is the communication, is working with the stakeholders, not just the end users, but all stakeholders. So that could be the unit director, it could be even the charge nurse, or even sometimes patient care associates, getting everybody involved where it might impact them. So it's awareness, but also understanding any obstacles that we might not see. And again, this could be for simple maintenance repairs to doing a full capital project renovation. So I think those two elements then spider out into your specific issues you might have to deal with depending on what you're dealing with throughout the day.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, you have led some large-scale projects and strategic initiatives. How do you prioritize and plan these projects in healthcare facilities where disruptions can directly impact patient care?
I would say the first part is from a facilities management, construction management aspect. We have sometimes our list of things we want to do or we want to achieve. And I think it's then aligning it with what the organization needs, and then really being able to understand. So we're all on the same page on what do we want to achieve? Is it going to help everybody in the long run? And everybody then understanding what are going to be the operational impacts and what are going to be the even fiscal impacts, especially if, let's say, we take a patient floor down for a while, that's lost revenue. I want to make sure everybody is aware all the way down the communication line of what's really going to happen versus we are planning what we want to do as facilities and construction, but it might not be 100% aligned with maybe what senior administration want or what even the local department really needs. So I think it really hones down in on communication.
Gotcha. Now, what role would you say, Chris, does data play in guiding decisions and improving performance in healthcare facilities management?
We are very data driven on different aspects of the operations. I always looked as a bread and butter data set is always your work order volume, your work order process, and really it could be closure rates. It could be as simple as even looking at your work order. It all depends on your work order system, how it's set up, but even looking at hot cold calls and really mapping where you're getting a majority of your complaints from. Maybe that's indicative of maybe some mechanical equipment starting to go, or maybe there's an issue. On a simple end, data like that is how it's looked, at least from a facilities management end. It also then goes into looking at efficiency of machinery, and it's such a broad topic that that's coming to be the future, even as you start rolling into AI and how that's going to really dive into energy efficiency and building management systems. But I think just in the day in, day out aspect for what I do and what my team does here is definitely looking at the work order system, looking at the preventive maintenance cycle, really being able to be as proactive as possible and getting ahead of any future issues we might have. And really, it's stressing the quality of the system and how much effort you put into it. Garbage in, garbage out, as I always used to say.
Yes, yes. I actually used another word, but we're not talking about it here in the IT space. Now, with a diverse range of roles under facilities management. How do you build a strong collaborative culture across departments?
I'm going to say it again, and I know it's very, but this is how much I'm passionate about it. It's communication, all right? Miscommunication, expectations, being able to really cross collaborate, especially from the support services, engineering, EVS, dietary, the support services working collaboratively, and then even communicating and being able to have those good relationships on the clinical side. We all work under the same roof, and you don't work in a silo. It's all cross-functional in one way or another. I could come in and do a project and I will bring it to a standard of clean at the end, but then EVS or maybe a contractor has to come in secondary to do the sterilization level cleaning. But it's that communication that you need to have, and that's just a baseline function of just a simple repair. When you get higher level with projects and logistics, that's where it all boils down to.
Gotcha. Now, Chris, one of the things that I noticed in your profile is that you believe very strongly and passionately in mentoring. What advice would you give to someone entering healthcare facilities management, particularly regarding balancing technical expertise and leadership?
So I would say when to become a leader, and leaders is all in how you want to define it. Leader could be a director, assistant director, could be a manager, could be a supervisor, foreman. I think in the end all, especially the higher you go up in the industry, definitely the three things I always try to stress is you're going to have your technical knowledge. You need to have your technical competency. That can be construction or power plant operations or maintenance, repair, carpentry, even if it was like emergency management or something like that, really branching out even a little bit further out of engineering. You need to have your technical competency, and that kind of then rolls into your regulatory understanding that we talked earlier about. The next element, I think, is then the human element, and that's where really understanding people, how to talk to people, emotional intelligence, really being able to work with vendors, working with different sorts of personalities, because at the ending of the day, not everybody is the same person. They're not going to have the same drive and direction that you might have, and you need to be able to really understand and work with different people to be able to achieve your end goal. And then the next part is a fiscal understanding. And I'm not saying everybody become an accountant or a CPA, but definitely having that baseline foundation of budgeting, understanding requisition process or purchase order, even basic stuff like that, and understanding also how to be able to really look at a departmental budget and being able to balance it, be able to forecast out. And that is a big element that I think it's sometimes either you're taught it through a formal education, master's, bachelor's, or you just learn it in the field, or it's a combination of you learned it when you didn't do it and somebody say they learned the hard way. So I always say that's like the three elements that definitely be successful. You would definitely want to at least touch upon on. And over the years, then you develop it. It's all through experience. You're not going to learn everything overnight. It takes years.
Yeah. Back in the day, we used to call it OJT, on the job training.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I have one final question, and it's probably the most important question that I have today, which is, what's your favorite food?
I'm a steak guy. I just love steak.
Yes.
I definitely ribeye, prime rib.
Yeah.
I've never done tomahawk yet. That's a bucket list item.
Man, listen.
I'm not buying it. I would definitely go to a restaurant and have them cook it. I'm not going to try that in my grill.
Yes, I hear you. Man, we're definitely of one accord where it comes to steak. I'm a steak lover. I have to watch myself. I have to check myself sometimes. And interestingly enough, a tomahawk is also on my bucket list as well. That's definitely, again, something we definitely share in common. Chris, it's been my great pleasure to have you here as a guest on Digital Dialogues. I look forward to maybe having you as a guest again.
Definitely.
But thank you so much for hanging out with me and taking us through your journey into facilities management. And I'd like to, again, thank you. Have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Same here.